What's up YouTube, it's TF Collector, and today I'll be reviewing the Transformers Studio Series 34 Leader Class Megatron from Transformers Dark of the Moon. So to start things off, we'll move Megatron out of the way here, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the packaging that he comes in. You can see on the front we have a nice picture of Megatron with his cloth and whatnot. He is number 34 of Studio Series. He is a Decepticon. His name is Megatron. Transformers Dark of the Moon 8-Up Hasbro. Transformers Generations Takara on this side of the packaging. A nice profile image of Megatron. He is 34 Studio Series Leader Class. On the other side of the packaging, we have an Autobot logo. We have Megatron. We have little Igor. And we have an authentic logo there. On the back of the packaging that you can barely see, he is big screen inspired from Transformers Dark of the Moon. His name is Megatron from the Serengeti hideout scene. You can see some nice product images there. He is a licensed Mack truck. You can see Igor right there. We'll take a look at him later. 30 steps for transformation from his secluded African base. Megatron schemes with his Decepticon followers. Backdrop included, we'll take a look at the end of the video. Also, build the cast with Jetfire. He will be the next review. Hasbro there on the bottom of barcode, and on the top, Transformers Dark of the Moon. And before we move on to the big guy himself, he does, of course, include his instruction manual here. You can see Megatron with little Igor on him there. Ages 8-Up, Transformers Generations Dark of the Moon, Leader Class, Megatron, Decepticon, Studio Series 34. On the back, licensed Mack truck, of course, Takara, Tomy, and Hasbro. And moving to the figure himself, here we have Dark of the Moon Megatron in his very large licensed Mack truck mode. And I love the way this truck mode looks. I've always been a fan of this. Loved this in Dark of the Moon, but just coming in close for the details. You can see on the front, I'm not sure if you can make it out there, but it does say Mack. You do have all these little pointy parts, but they are all rubbery. You don't have to worry about poking your eyes out. You have some nice lights all up in there. This whole piece here is done in rubber. As you can see, you have a nice little piece there sticking up. I think that was a Decepticon logo in the movie. I don't completely remember though. That does look pretty cool. Some more rubbery pieces up here. Love this little like shade of brown that they did here with the tan on the side. That looks awesome. Some nice lights molded and up there. Nice painted windows. All look really good. Smokestack paint looks amazing. Love the way they faded that there. Just overall, some great molded detailing. Now, there is some hollow spaces in the figure, as you can see, which is a bit of an issue, but not a big enough issue to take away from the fact this truck mode looks amazing as we keep moving down. More silver, lots of chain details, lots of molded detailing right here. Overall, the back, not quite as well painted as the front, but still some great molded detailing with some nice colors in through there. The wheels are unpainted. They're just in this plastic, but they do look pretty good. The tires, of course, in the black. You do have plastic wheels, of course. Overall, just really good looking truck mode here. You can see the top there and the bottom. You do have a lot of hollow, like I previously mentioned. Most of the robot is back here, but overall, I really love the way this guy turned out here in truck mode. And when it comes to accessories, Megatron does come with quite a few. First of all, he comes with his blaster, which looks awesome. Love the way they painted this, the nice silver they used with the black. Just overall loving the way this blaster looks. We'll show how to store all this here in a second. He also comes with this little chain piece here, very reminiscent of what he has on him in the movie. You can see they have one with 2 chains. The rest are just 1, but overall a nice looking piece. This is rubbery. You don't have to worry about breaking it or anything like that, so that is nice. He also comes with his cloth that he wears in the movie, his little like, I don't even know what you would call this. It's his hoodie. No, it's more like a disguise, I guess, to cover his broken face that Prime shot off in Revenge of the Fallen. But it's just done in this clothy material, but looks pretty good and looks even better in robot mode when you get it on him. And the last figure, of course, that he comes with is little Igor, as I previously mentioned. And Igor does look pretty cool right here. Love the way he turned out with the little missile rack or whatever that's supposed to be going on top of his head, and the nice green with the red eye, and he does articulate. His legs can move forward and backward. They do move together. They are on one piece, and each arm is on a ball joint, so they can do full 360 and can kind of barely go in and out. But overall, a nice little inclusion. Mine's face is very loose. I don't know why. I don't know if I need to tighten this screw back here or what, but mine's face has been really loose since I got it a couple years back. But overall, a very nice inclusion right there. And as I previously mentioned, we can store all of this on the body. What you basically want to do is you're going to want to just fold this piece over basically in half. And what we're going to do is we're going to place this piece here. You want to leave these two tabs exposed, so just place it there. I'm going to take it off real quick just to show you. You're basically going to put this piece over top of that to hold it on, and what's going to happen is these pieces right here are going to hook into each of these 4 little tabs right here. So we're going to see if I can do this on screen so you can kind of see what to do. This is going to be a little difficult to do just because I don't have complete range of motion with the camera in front of me, but you can see you're basically just putting that over top of there, hold it on there, come to the back, and basically you're just trying to tab this piece onto each of these little notches. Just see if we can get those all tabbed on here, this side not wanting to reach a little, but you can kind of get the gist of what I'm doing here, just trying to tab this onto all these pieces. And of course, we have one that doesn't want to reach. Let me fix that one real quick. As you saw firsthand, it certainly takes some fiddling to get all these pieces under here tabbed up in there, but it does work and makes the truck mode look a whole lot better. Now, as for the blaster, you can see there is a little slot right there, and that will go into these 2 tabs. Now, it doesn't always hold securely on my copy, but we'll see if it will hold it today, if I can line it up properly. Let's see here. See if we can't tab that in, and it is going to hold it decently properly today. So I appreciate that, Megatron. Thank you for holding like you're supposed to. And as for Igor, he has these little, whoa, focus. He has these little slots on the bottom of his feet, and I swear they're supposed to tab into these little tabs right here. I think so anyways, but I can never get it to fit. Like, I have shoved as good as I can, and it's just not happening. So just, there you go. You can just plop little Igor right up there if you want to have him stored. And overall, some very nice storage here in truck mode. I forgot to mention, but Megatron can, of course, roll very smoothly, in case you were wondering. For a few truck mode comparisons, first here is Megatron alongside his #1 wingman or #1 hater, depending on how you look at it, Studio Series 21 Starscream, who is billed as being from Revenge of the Fallen, but he has the same design in Dark of the Moon, so these two do work very well together. You can see Starscream not even half the length of Megatron, but I think the two, of course, not scale accurate or anywhere close to it, but I do think they do look pretty good together. Here he is with his arch rival, of course, Studio Series 32 Optimus. Now, they did make a Dark of the Moon version, but we'll get to that down the line a little, and we'll compare that version with Megatron then. But for now, you can see with Studio Series 32, he is about scale accurate because the cabs of the trucks are about the right scale. Just, of course, Megatron is a lot longer with that piece there. And as you're seeing me fiddle with it, one thing I want to mention real quick, these pieces just always want to move in. I wish there was more of a locking point for these wheels, because if you just barely thoop them, they go in. So that is a little frustrating, but just a little note as I'm noticing it. But overall, these two do look really good together. And last, but certainly not least, here is Megatron with the original version of Dark of the Moon Megatron. I was looking around my room and I was like, wow, I have the OG. So gotta do a comparison there, but you can just see how much bigger the Studio Series version is than the older version, even though I think the older version actually does a really good job of getting the kind of look down. Of course, he doesn't have the spikes or certainly the size, but I think he does a pretty good job here. Of course, I prefer the Studio Series, but I do think the original did a pretty awesome job. And yeah, those are some comparisons with Megatron. So that is basically it for the alt mode for this Megatron. And overall, I think they did a great job with this alt mode. Just wish they could have filled in some of the hollow gaps and done something with these wheels popping in so easily. But overall, truck mode looks awesome and very, very accurate to what we see in the movie. But with that being said, let's go ahead and transform Megatron. So I've already removed all the accessories, but if you haven't done that already, go ahead and do that. And the first thing we're going to do is flip under here and just push these wheels up like so. Then what we're going to do is come back to this panel and untab this on each side. You can see there are 2 points of connection. Tab, slot, and slot, tab right there. Do the same thing on the other side. Untab that piece. Now we're going to want to come under the figure, and you can see this piece is on a hinge right here, and you're just going to want to straighten that hinge out. So basically just grab this entire piece and straighten that hinge right there out. The shadow is killing your vision, but you can see you just want to untab that piece and bring that up on the hinge. Now come back here, and you're going to want to push up on this piece, and it's going to untab this section from under here. So just push up right there, and you can see that is where that tab right there went in. And now you're just going to want to grab his hand or this entire arm and basically wiggle it out. So just bring this whole section out here. Come on. Just bring the whole section out, and you want that out like that. And we're of course going to do the same on the other side. So push up on that piece, come under here, grab his arm, hand, whatever you want to grab, and just start wiggle waggling that whole section out like that. And now I'm going to move the camera way up. Hopefully now you're going to kind of be able to see what I'm doing. So the first thing we're going to do is bring his head out of in here. So just grab his head, bring it up like so. Take this piece, and you're basically going to bring these two pieces up. This one kind of already did it, but just bring these pieces up. And basically you can see there are little tabs on the side of his neck piece that are going to go into little notches in this piece. So basically what you're going to want to do is come back to this piece, and you're going to want to put that back at that 90-degree angle like that. And then this piece should just come up and tab over those little tabs like so, and that should hold that in pretty securely there for the chest. Now to work on the arms, you're just going to straighten the elbow out, come here to this piece, rotate it 180 and push it in like so. And if it hasn't already, this piece does tab in right here. It doesn't hold very securely, but there is a little tab slot connection that's supposed to go on there. This piece is on a double hinge. You're going to bring it over the wheels. So that is how you're going to want that looking. Now it doesn't completely cover them, but does come over them quite a little bit. So do the same thing on the other arm. Just straighten out the elbow. Rotate this piece 180. This side is really tight on mine for some reason. There we go. Rotate that 180 and push that back in. Make sure that panel is tabbed in. It doesn't hold very securely. And then use that double hinge to just bring this piece over these wheels like so. And then you can just straighten his little hands out, and there you have the upper body of Megatron all done. Now moving down here to the lower body where things really get interesting, you're going to want to come back here first and untab this piece. And if you want, you can go ahead and attach this. So basically those two slots are going to go into those two tabs. Just use your hinges, line that up, and that should tab in right there like so. And that is going to be your backpack. And now working on the legs themselves, just bring these pieces out like that on each side. And now you're going to want to split this entire section, but be careful. There is a T-tab right here, so you're going to want to slide that one. So basically untab the rest. It did it on its own there, but usually you're going to have to slide that out so you don't break anything, because of course you don't want to break your figure. And now I'm going to swing around here, and if they haven't done it already, just push these little pieces in, and we're going to work on this section. So the first thing we're going to do is rotate it in, rotate it up, then come here to this piece. It's going to untab from right here, and it's also going to untab from in here. You can see there's a tab that goes back behind that piece. Rotate this piece 180 degrees, and basically now what's going to happen is you're going to want to rotate this piece this way. So that's how you want that looking now. And basically this whole assembly is going to come up and go into the leg. And you see there is a, if I can get it to focus on the right spot, little notch and a little tab right there. So you just want that sitting like that. Make sure that wheel stays in. Bring this assembly down, rotate the foot over, and then rotate this whole piece over. And then this bottom section, you just want to bend that all the way down, and then bend this top joint back until you have his leg oriented properly. I think it's usually 4 clicks, or 3 clicks rather, that gets it to where it is lined up properly. He does have the little chicken leg look, but that is movie accurate. And we're going to do the same thing real quick on the other side. So basically just come back to this front section, rotate this piece down, rotate this piece back, come to this piece, untab it from here if it hasn't done it already, flip this piece around like so, come here to this piece and turn it inwards. Then what we're going to do is bring this whole section upwards like so, and you do have that tab and notch on this side as well, of course. Bring this piece down, bring the toe down, and then rotate this piece forward. Bring it forward on this hinge as far as it will go. 3 clicks back on the top hinge, and there you have his, one more. There you have his legs all done, and the last thing to do is you can see there is a tab right there, and it will just go into this little waist section. So you just tab that piece in like so, and there you go. There you have Studio Series Dark of the Moon Megatron in his absolutely awesome looking robot mode. And overall, I love the way this figure turned out in robot mode. I've already said he looked great in alt mode. As you can see, the transformation is actually pretty fun to do and pretty enjoyable. And this here is just beautiful. But coming in closer so you can get a look at the head sculpt, you can see nice silver there on the face, red on the eyes, some nice gold there in the mouth. Just overall some more red detailing up here. Beautiful face sculpt. Looks amazing. The chest, some awesome detailing going on in here. Some more silver. Just overall, the paint on this figure. Usually I'm complaining about Studio Series paint. This one, they actually, like, look, they painted this. Like, look at the leg. It's painted. Oh my goodness. Look at the shins. Look at the arms. The hands even. They're painted. I think the hands are actually molded in this color, but they're painted and it looks beautiful. It just looks awesome. Just overall, as I've already mentioned, I touched on all the pieces with paint, but just the detailing. I mean, he's got abs going on. Just the molded details and the paint deco just looks awesome. Now, a lot of people complain that this guy's legs are very chunky, and I agree. They are what hold him from being the perfect Megatron from Dark of the Moon, in my opinion. He does have some chunky little legs that aren't screen accurate, of course, but I still don't think they look that terrible, and the back cleans up beautifully. But overall, just love the way this guy turned out. I know it has the leg kibble, but this is beautiful to me. And as far as articulation goes, the head is on a ball joint. You can get upward movement and downward movement. You can't really turn it that far just due to the design of this backpack, which is a little annoying, but you do get the up and down movement. The arms can do full 360 on nice joints. They can move in and out. They can also kind of do a butterfly joint right here due to the transformation hinge in there. So that is pretty cool. You do get a swivel at the elbow. You get a double jointed elbow, so you get full range of motion there, and that is awesome. You also get a little bit of hand rotation, not rotation, but up and down movement, and the 2 fingers are on separate little joints, so you can move them together, you can move them separate, whatever you want to do. Some awesome options. No waist swivel, unfortunately. I know, sad. But the legs, just due to the design, you can't get a lot of leg articulation, but they can go forward that far. Back, not happening. Outward, not happening. You do get a swivel right here and also a bend. You do get a swivel right here and also a bend, and these are on nice ratchets, both of those joints are. And you also get a little bit of ankle pivot, but I don't really know how that would work because this piece kind of gets in the way. But hey, it's there, it counts, it's ankle tiltage. Yay, it's awesome, we love it. Overall articulation, he is very limited in the legs, which is another one of 2 reasons, that and this kibble, that I would say he's not the perfect Dark of the Moon Megatron, but he does move halfway decent, and you can get him into some pretty cool action poses. And as far as the accessories go, we're going to start with the gun that can be stored on the back if you want it to be. You can see there is a little post right there and a little place to plug it in right there. You can just plug that right in there, just plug her in, and you can put her at an angle like it is in the movie, and that is a very cool option if you want to do that, since it is accurate, of course. But you can, of course, have Megatron holding his gun. Now, he can only hold it in this hand because this hand doesn't have the little tab section for the gun, but he can hold it in this hand, so you can have him holding that gun and blasting everyone all around. And as for his other accessories, we can bring in the chain, and it will go right on him like this. And basically, just like in car mode, you have a new 4 notches. Uno, dos, tres. Oh, not cuatro. Mine broke off. Usually you have 4 though. Mine's broke off over the last couple years, unfortunately. But you basically just slide this on there and hit all those notches. And I'm going to do that real quick so you don't have to watch me struggle. And you can see that chain detail just makes Megatron look even more movie accurate and awesome. But if we want him to look even more awesome, we can bring in his little cape or little hide piece. I don't know if he's hiding his face or if he's trying to be Superman, but whatever this is supposed to be, we can throw it over top of him, and basically his head, of course, will go in here, and this big hole will go over his shoulder. So just rise up a little bit here and show you what I'm doing. You can basically just throw that big hole over the shoulder, and then just use the ball jointed head to just get his chin in through there, and just work around with all your little hinges. And now come on now, that is freaking awesome. Come on, that is awesome. This is one of my favorite Leader Class Studio Series figures, just because I love Dark of the Moon, I love Megatron, but this is just mwah, that's beautiful. And last but certainly not least, we can of course bring in little IGOR here, and we've already taken a detailed look at him earlier in the video, but he can store here on Megatron, and to do so we do unfortunately have to remove the little cloth and sit that off to the side. But as I previously mentioned, when Megatron was in alt mode, there are these little tab slot connections on the bottom of the feet, and these are meant to go into these. I still think they're meant to go into those and just don't fit, but they are supposed to tab in here, and I haven't tried it in a long time. But let's see if we can't sort of tab him up on there. Oh, yep, that one works. You see? And there you go. You can have IGOR just hanging out on top of Megatron there, and I think that does make for a pretty cool little display option if you want to use it. I'm never going to use it because I love the way he looks with the little cape thing, but that is a pretty cool option if you want to take advantage of that. And for a few robot mode comparisons to give you a sense of scale of how big this figure really is, first here he is with Studio Series 21, Voyager Starscream, so you can see how those two look together, and that looks freaking awesome. So movie accurate. Love the way these two look. I'm really loving this Megatron. Here he is with Studio Series 32 Voyager class Optimus Prime. So you can see how he looks with a Studio Series Prime, and they do scale together pretty accurately. Megatron is supposed to be a couple heads taller than Optimus, I believe, in Dark of the Moon. Of course, there is a Dark of the Moon Prime later down the line, but we will look at that later down the line, and we will compare him with Megatron then. And last but not least, here he is with the OG, the original Transformers Dark of the Moon Voyager class Megatron. So you can see how those two look together, and of course this was great for the time. It's a real fun figure that you can transform back and forth and is decently accurate, but this here is just by far the best mainline Dark of the Moon Megatron we have ever gotten and probably ever will get, because I would say this is probably going to be their last attempt at this version of Megatron, and they did a great job, really knocked it out of the park. He looks awesome. Out of the park, not the part. And last, of course, here he is with a CG model of himself from Dark of the Moon. So you can see just how accurate they got this figure. And once again, I think they did a great job. Other than the kibble on the lower legs, I think this guy looks almost perfect compared to what we see in the movie. Love the way this figure turned out. And if we quickly move Megatron out of the way, the last thing to talk about is, of course, the display base that used to come in the box with all the Studio Series figures, now sadly discontinued. But this one looks pretty freaking awesome. You have 34 Studio Series Dark of the Moon Transformers Autobot logo, and you have all of the little pieces from the Decepticon hideout in Dark of the Moon. And if you want to do so, you can bring Megatron in here and just plop him down there. He fits beautifully, and we can also bring in little IGOR, just plop him down there, and that makes for an absolutely awesome display option if you have the shelf space to take advantage of that. So there you have my review for the Transformers Studio Series 34 Leader Class Megatron from Transformers Dark of the Moon, of course including little Igor down there. And overall, I think this figure is an absolute knockout of the park. Love everything about it. I love the transformation, which is really fun to do. I've played with it back and forth multiple times over the last few days getting ready for this review, and I do think I'll be getting this guy off of the shelf more often because I actually really enjoy the transformation. The accessories, this is some of the best accessories we've seen so far in the Studio Series line up to this point, with Igor, beautifully painted, if I can speak English, blaster, the chain that makes him more accurate, and of course the little cape piece, which looks absolutely awesome as you can see right now. Overall, the vehicle mode, licensed Mack truck, looks awesome. Very movie accurate. I've always liked that vehicle mode, and I think they did a great job putting it in figure form here. Robot mode, by far the best mainline Transformers Dark of the Moon Megatron we have ever gotten and probably ever will get. You saw him compared with the original, and he just knocks that guy out of the park. Way better than that guy, but he is awesome. Overall, awesome. You get the full package with this guy. You get the transformation, you get the details, you get the looks, you get the accessories, you get everything that you could possibly want from a Transformers figure. Of course, there are minor complaints, the gappage problems in the alt mode, the big shin sections going on at the lower legs, and just some articulation points that aren't there, unfortunately, like a waist joint, a usable ankle pivot, and the legs are hindered due to the design. But those are just minor flaws that are only going to take off a little bit from my overall score. And speaking of which, if I had to rate this Megatron from 1 to 10, he's getting a 9.5 out of 10, as close to 10 as he can get without being perfect. So he is going to get the 9.5 out of 10. Absolutely love this figure. He's always been one of my favorite figures of the Studio Series line ever since I got him in my possession. Now, of course, Jetfire will be the next review, and I do still to this day think this guy and Jetfire make up for the best wave of Leader Class Studio Series figures we have ever gotten. To this day, including every figure, I think this wave of leaders is the best we've gotten. But for this figure itself, absolutely awesome. 100% recommend. 9.5 out of 10 from me. And Jetfire will be the next review. So don't forget, never sacrifice the things you love for the approval of others. I'll see you next with Jetfire or 117 Bumblebee, who is shipping out from Hasbro Pulse. Whichever. If I get the Bumblebee first, I'll do him. But if not, we'll do Jetfire next. But until then, roll out. Peace.